Traitor to the Combine. A provocative title, isn't it? We'll get to the traitor bit later, but what does Combine mean? In an article he published in January 2021 on Substack, Irish writer John Waters defined Combine as follows. Combine was the word used by Chief Bromden in Ken Kesey's novel One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He used it to describe the force, a kind of evil syndicate that bears down on humanity, seeking to oppress and reset its behaviour. That was John Waters. In Kesey's book, Bromden refers to the Combine as a, quote, huge organisation that runs both what he calls the outside and the inside. In other words, everything. This might seem like a simplistic, Matrix-style view of the world, or perhaps the Combine conjures up visions of the Illuminati or Ian Fleming's Spectre, but if you think about it for a few moments, Chief Bromden's perspective is far from being what is mockingly referred to as a conspiracy theory. Have you ever come across expressions like establishment or city hall or just the man? Maybe you've heard one of these terms, as in you can't fight City Hall, or you are brought up to believe that the individual is no match for the establishment, whether it is the tax authorities or the House of Lords. Whichever label you prefer, there is one cardinal truth to bear in mind. Not only can you fight City Hall or the Combine, you can win too. This became clear to me early in 2020. On March 11th of that year, the World Health Organization, the WHO, declared COVID-19 to be a pandemic. Straight away, our government imposed a series of unprecedented and over-the-top restrictions on the public. Because I could see there was no pandemic, I refused to go along with any of it. I could not, in conscience, lend credence to the deception by participating in the bizarreness all around me. So as best I could, I ignored every regulation, every piece of government advice, every propagandistic newspaper article and TV bulletin, and every ad screaming, "The end is nigh unless you do what we tell you." Despite my heresy, I survived, and I am now over 70. It was not just COVID, however. I realised that the Combine, incorporating the pillars of our society, government, media, big business, judicial system, church, etc., was deceiving us about a lot of other things as well. Of course, individual politicians and doctors are often lovely people, but they are part of a system, the Combine, that is definitely not lovely. How do I know this? Dear listener, it's confession time. Years ago, I was a not insignificant cog in the Combine machine. By no means a senior executive, but not a little pinkeen either. I was certainly not a passive onlooker. I contributed to the growth and enrichment of the Combine and its members. So from that point of view, I guess I am a traitor now. I'm still lovely though. But it is not only me. We are all part of the Combine. We work for the Combine. We buy our food from the Combine. We watch TV shows and movies made by the Combine, and we send our children to schools run by the Combine. Without our active support or our implied consent, the Combine would cease to exist overnight. This is good news because if we were to withdraw from the Combine, it would collapse. That is why I am withdrawing. Lately I have been cutting my ties to the Combine one slender thread at a time. I am not a radical. I don't do bold gestures. But if I can keep heading in the same direction, one day I hope to be completely free. In these videos, I talk about my day-to-day efforts to put principle into practice, to become a traitor to the Combine. So far, my efforts to opt out of the Combine have been reasonably successful. What I count as a success is when I can stop doing something, or never start, without being unduly hassled, or even arrested. I learnt this during the COVID era. I managed to avoid serious problems by not being silly about face masks, hand gel, lockdowns, etc., etc. I never complied with whatever edict was then in force, but neither did I cause difficulties for whoever had to apply these unnecessary regulations. Once, when I was stopped at the door of a restaurant because I was not a permitted person, I left immediately without a fuss. It was easy to excuse the young waiter who was clearly embarrassed at having to refuse to seat a customer. The real culprit was the owner or manager who told staff to enforce this ridiculous rule. Similarly, whenever I was turned away from a shop for not wearing a mask, I usually went quietly. Mostly, these interventions were made by courteous staff. Once or twice, I experienced what I can describe only as abusive behaviour. I still left, but to this day, I have never gone back to such places. COVID or no COVID, I dislike rude people. A few times I was stopped by the police at one of their COVID checkpoints. I might or might not have been driving outside the lockdown perimeter at the time, but I was always treated in a civil manner by the officers of the law. Whether they were shop assistants, receptionists, or Gardaí, the people who enforced these absurdities during that awful time were generally polite. At least that was my experience. On the few occasions when I came up against overbearing rudeness, it was usually in a medical setting, but more on that another time. I learned quite a bit during the COVID era about how the Combine operates and, more importantly, how to decouple from it. I'm still learning, of course. Here are a few of the topics I hope to cover in later videos. Health insurance, smartphones, public services card, print and broadcast media, household waste. In future videos I will describe in detail what I have done in these and other areas. As I hinted at earlier, medical-related issues will probably be a recurring theme of Traitor to the Combine, so expect lots about my interactions with doctors and hospitals before and during COVID. But this is not just about me. I will also be looking at topics of which I have no direct experience. An example is home education. Our children are long past their school days, so that is not something I know much about. But maybe you are a younger parent thinking of taking your child out of school. Or perhaps you have already taken the plunge. Traitor to the Combine is a work in progress. In fact, not even a work in progress. More like a tentative dip in the shallows. Who knows what else is in that big churning ocean beyond the seashore? I hope we can find out together. So it's not just home education. If you have ideas or opinions about any topic I am grappling with or should be grappling with, please leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's completely free and you will learn about my new videos when they appear. Thank you.